My stepfather was a libertarian. So when I applied to colleges, I was just looking for the most money to get out. And so I found out through my application process that I owned a home, 2 motorcycles, a boat, and a car. And that is because my stepfather put all of his assets in my name
That's
to
good.
avoid the IRS. No, it's not good when you're looking for financial aid. And
Oh, that's right.
Your
You need
parents,
financial aid.
your parents are on the cusp of bankruptcy, and he's going the line on. So my stepfather ended up in a federal prison
Okay.
in Lower Manhattan.
Everybody, welcome back to Confronting the Impossible. My name is Leo Jacobs. I'm your host for my podcast, where we talk about the trials and tribulations and the confrontations of what it's like to confront the impossible. I have a wonderful, wonderful lady with me today. Her name is MaryAnne Gillmartin. She is the CEO and founder of MAG Partners. Welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's
Excellent.
wonderful to be next to a powerhouse New York City developer right here on Fifth Avenue. We have the wonderful Central Park right in back of us, and what some of the wonderful buildings that are across from here you've worked on, okay? Today on Confronting the Impossible, we're going to discuss a little bit of what that means and some of the things that you've had to face to get to the top. I believe your name is very well known in the industry, and I want to talk about who you are, how you've come to be, and what things you have to develop in adversity, in the fire, to make sure that one is successful or can call themselves successful. So please tell us about yourself first and foremost, and we'll get into the grill.
Great. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I love the name of the podcast, and I'm honored that I have an opportunity to sit here and talk to you today. I am, in my essence, a humble girl from Queens. I was born
from Queens, too.
Yes, I know. Another reason I thought to join you.
Nice.
So I was born in Rockaway.
Rockaway Beach.
Yes. And in Rockaway, it's in my community in Rockaway when I was born there. My father left when I was very young. And my mother thought we need to leave Rockaway before I married somebody I might be related to. It's a very, very, we call it the Irish Riviera. It's a community, yes, Irish, Irish American, Irish ancestors.
John F. Kennedy was Irish.
Yeah. So I left Rockaway when I was young, but Queens girl through and through, and came from a pretty unstable family household, which I think is relevant only because in the business that I'm in, if you need everything tickety-boo at the end of the day, it's probably not the right business for you.
No.
So I think one of the reasons why I'm particularly strong at being nimble, pivoting, change, is that the only thing that we knew growing up was that whatever we thought was the case would not necessarily be the case in any given day, week, or year.
So talk to me about the first, not go to the hype, but talk about some of the first bold bets that you had to make to kind of cement your reputation in this community and what community that was. So tell me about that.
Well, I'll start by saying my mother was a hippie, so she wanted to relive the glory days of Woodstock. So she picked up her 3 girls and moved to Woodstock and married for a second time, and married a libertarian, which at the time, I don't know that I knew what a libertarian really was. Now we all know more about that. But this is a person who believed that taxation without representation was alive and well, did not believe that Americans were taxed appropriately, and ended up in a pickle with the IRS. And so much so that when I was trying to pull myself up out of my circumstances and get myself to college based on some really good mentors in my high school years, I applied to universities and really mortgaged myself off to the school that would give me the most money.
And how old were you at that?
So 17 and a half.
So the adversity began at a young age.
Yes. It was about pulling myself up and saying that I wanted a different future. I wanted to change the circumstances around.
What was the anchor to that, I guess, misery, if you will?
I would say it wasn't misery as much as it was chaotic. It was unpredictable.
Volatility?
Yeah, and I think my mother's gift to us was to say that nobody's going to bring you your happiness, and nobody's going to figure it out. You have to figure it out yourself.
What was the derivative? What caused that volatility? Is it the dad that
bad choices in men? I think that she married young. In the community that my mother came from, you either went to the nunnery or you got married very young.
And where were you living? You were living in Rockaway Beach, Queens.
Rockaway to Woodstock, right? So that
Woodstock
that
is where,
journey,
forgive me.
it's 2 hours north. It's where Woodstock took place, but it's really a community at the
New York.
time. It was an IBM community for which my stepfather at the time was a river pilot. He navigated ships down the Hudson River. It's a weird job, odd job, a really good job, but his work was different, and so we were a different family. They were hippies. They carried on. I raised my sister and I raised our siblings. Again, they were really. It was a reverse kind of role. We were the nurturers. We were the ones that kept the household. There was a lot of unpredictable. Yeah, the parenting of the parent, which can happen sometimes in certain households.
And the reason your dad left was?
Well, my real father ran away with the babysitter.
Aha.
So that was early on in my day. I was
And
2.
how old were you? 2?
Yeah. And then my mother remarried and he ultimately left as well. So I think like this unstable, not necessarily having a patriarchal family unit.
Instability
At the core.
at the core. And it invited success.
I would say resilience.
I like that.
A bit of grit.
I like that. I like
a bit
that.
of grit, which is we were all trying to figure out a way through it. I'm
That would
very
be the
close
mother
with my
and
sisters.
2 sisters, right?
And then 2 brothers from.
You're oldest or youngest?
I am the middle daughter, but there are 5 in total, so I'm second from the oldest.
Okay.
And so this idea that I did very, very well in school,
You liked education.
I like to learn. Yeah, I was an awkward teenager as well. So I read a lot of books,
Okay.
and I was a very good girl. But I'd say I didn't necessarily have bold ambitions. I just thought to myself that there were better things than what I was experiencing in Woodstock and Kingston. So I had my eye on trying to go to college and really learn, because learning was
Innate. It was innate.
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Curiosity.
good. So you didn't delve into, drugs, rock and roll or something like that.
I mean, given that my mother's rule was never steal your parents' drugs, like it was, my sisters and I never did any drugs. We never took their drugs. We dressed our brothers and got them to school in the morning, and this is kind of the way that.
5 of you.
Yeah,
5 of you.
5,
2
yeah.
brothers, 3 all in the same household.
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
so there's some chaos. There was some discipline in the chaos with your mother, right?
a lot of chaos, and we were good girls, and so dutiful, and leaving for college felt like it was a form of abandonment. Leaving my mother.
Of course. And where did you go to college?
So as I was saying about my stepfather was a libertarian. So when I applied to colleges, I was just looking for the most money to get out. And so I found out through my application process that I owned a home, 2 motorcycles, a boat, and a car. And that is because my stepfather put all of his assets in my name
That's
to
good.
avoid the IRS. No, it's not good when you're looking for financial aid. And
That's right.
Your, and
You
your
need
parents,
financial aid.
your parents are on the cusp of bankruptcy, and he's going the line on. So my stepfather ended up in a federal prison
Okay.
in Lower Manhattan
Okay.
for tax evasion.
Uh-huh.
They garnished his salary.
That's horrible.
It's horrible. He was on his way out. It really jammed up my quest to go to university, and I have to thank the Jesuits at Fordham University, who really took mercy on me. They unpacked my story, and they saw that how is it possible for someone just shy of 18 to own a home
This much, yeah.
to have all these assets. And so he at that point was estranged from my mother, and they ended up giving me a very, very generous scholarship to go to Fordham. And I went to Fordham because it was the easiest way for me to go to university and figure out how to pay for it. I worked 2 jobs. I was a Phi Beta Kappa summa cum laude when I graduated. I was really there to I was there to learn and to figure my life out. And college was not, these joyous years of having fun and living with reckless abandonment. It was really a period of discovery and I would say maturity for me that probably made me wise beyond my years, just given my circumstances.
So separation from dad or a dad figure,
Yep.
right? Early on.
Lack of.
So, having a father it should be anchoring in a good way, but I guess in your situation anchored you the exact opposite way, and it created volatility in your life. That's very interesting. But from that, great things occurred because resilience was born, grit
Yep.
was born. holding yourself by your own, I guess, shoelaces was born, and in your mother's chaos of I guess, discipline. Don't touch my drugs, right? You were like, okay, I can't do that. I have to put and swim against the tide.
And she relied on men, I
Interesting,
suppose,
interesting,
in ways
interesting.
that really determined her destiny. And then later in life, we were able to give her a form of stability so that she could have a calmer life. But I'd say that all that chaos and all of that uncertainty was always wrapped up in a relationship, as opposed to
As opposed to?
standing up her life on her own. And so she came to that realization that investing in other people to bring you happiness was a mistake.
So did you take that lesson as don't rely on others, rely on yourself?
Yes.
But you have a big team.
No, I think you have to take that statement and you have to really unpack it and say, what does that really mean? It means don't rely on other people to bring you happiness, to figure things out. I mean, you have to take control and agency over your life. However, nothing great can be done without others. So I think it's
Exactly.
this idea of not believing it. You go at it alone. No man is an island. No woman's an island. I think it's this idea that folks that really have expectations that other people are going to bring them things,
Exactly.
that's probably not a great life philosophy. And that part of it, I would take to be a gift.
So Jordan Peterson said, I don't know if you know who Jordan
I
Peterson
do
is.
indeed.
He said, in life, you could either be a slave, you could be a tyrant, or you could negotiate. And I think in the beginning, there was a lot of tyranny kind of surrounding you in what were the circumstances of your father maybe leaving. And that tyrannization of internal, like what's happening to me and where's that stability, kind of went to its way to negotiate a path in your life and say, I got to stick to my education here. Stick to my education. Don't do drugs. Be a good girl. And something will be born out of that. And I think that's the definition of resilience. That's the definition of grit. That's what I think you're built on, which is absolutely fascinating.
And what's interesting is a messy family can also be a very nurturing and life-giving family. And so through all of that messiness, because you don't pick your family, right? You come from your parents and you pick your community, but your family is your family. And so the bond I have with my sisters and our each of our journeys and, how we all tried to figure our way through is really quite fascinating. But we did it with a bond that I think was unbreakable and also gets this idea that
That was the
not
core.
looking to somebody else to figure your stuff out, but at the same time relying on people and learning how to trust the people that have your best interest at heart is also a very, very big part of how I came through my childhood.
Excellent. And what's the separation?
2
Because I'm not
years.
going to ask you how old
Yeah,
you
2
are.
years.
In 2 years. So
Two and two.
you guys relied on each other.
Yes.
How about the brothers?
A little bit more age difference, different fathers, and much more of being the caregiver.
To them or them?
To
To
them,
them.
because they were younger.
So I have a friend. He's actually a registered nurse. He's a male. He's in the same situation as you are. He takes care of his little brothers. They're both going to, I think, one of them's going to law school, one of them's going to med school.
Mm-hmm.
He really lost a little bit or a piece of himself in the investment of making sure that they are essentially who they should become. Their dad left them when they were young. One of his best friends, and sometimes I feel like I'm being his dad and taking him through certain things. I do disagree on one point about you can't choose your family. You could run away and choose someone else, right? You could run away and choose someone else or live with someone else. I think that you are correct from who you come out of, figuratively and literally.
Your birth family,
right?
right?
Your birth family, you can't pick. But we're in a big city, and there are a lot of mentors. There are a lot of people you can mentee. Tell me who those people were. Who instructed your life past the primordial soup, right? You go to college, you become, you identify with something. I'm assuming you said Phi Beta Kappa or something like that, right?
Phi Beta Kappa, yeah.
Phi Beta Kappa. That's a sorority.
It's a designation of just like a near perfect GPA.
Okay.
It's an honor society. The point being that I came from a very small school in Kingston, New York. I didn't have, SAT training. I didn't have any of the things that would set you up for it. But just through, again, grit, resilience, and a desire to learn and my own curiosity, I did extremely well at Fordham. I have views about whether that school would have been the best school for me to push me and my, my abilities. But I have a lot, like I said, a lot of gratitude. I want to go back to the family comment.
Of course.
I want to make sure that what I'm saying is heard, which
Absolutely.
is that when you come from such a dysfunctional family, there's this idea of shame. That my parents were potheads. My stepfather ended up in jail. My real father left. That's not exactly.
That's destructive, right? Those are the tenets
And those
of
things are
destruction
not
right there.
like my siblings and I. We didn't choose those things, right?
We did not. No.
So when I say that you don't pick your family, what I mean is, as children, we learn very early that you're dealt a hand, right?
Yes.
And like you said, you could be the slave, or you could be the tyrant, or you could negotiate.
Right.
And I think what we all came from was a place where the resiliency, the grit, and the self-belief or the self-confidence were really the great trifecta that allowed us to kind of
Negotiate your way out of it.
Yeah.
So here's what I'll say. Adversity can break people. In my business, I'm a restructuring lawyer, okay? And we restructure millions of square feet in the city. And we're talking, prominent families, the people you always read about that are looking good but not really so good, and billions of dollars in restructuring. There are, and Wayne Greenwald, who is a senior counsel, and Robert Sass was the partner in the bankruptcy division. He always says, he's like, Lee, I just want to let you know, in my years of experience, I've only been doing this for 12 years. They've been doing it for 30 and 40, respectively. I love your audacity of hope, but I want to let you know not every heart is going to survive, and some people are going to break. And the reason I say that to you is because somewhere there, consciously or unconsciously, in that volatility, in the destructive, demonstrative kind of your life, right? Your life in that space, you made a choice. You made a choice to be resilient. You made a choice to be in a position of taking grit. I don't think everyone had those positive views. So dare I say, I think it was up to you in that moment.
Well, might I say that some would say confronting the impossible, like to get out of it, to make something of it, might have been to some an impossibility, right?
Correct.
And lots of excuses for why it couldn't have happened.
Correct. People succumb to their circumstances and they choose who they become in spite of adversity. And some succumb to being the lesser parts of society, as some would say, being a drunk, being, frankly, a prostitute, or being something that's not so desirable or has a different place in society. We don't want to put anybody down, of course.
And I don't know that it's always a conscious decision. It might be just being beaten down. Sometimes it's other mental health issues,
of course,
inherited behaviors and things that make it harder again to transcend past it and fight either genetics or history.